The widowmaker. That is what doctors call it when a heart condition hits the point of no return. In a sterile examination room, the diagnosis arrives in a careful, neutral tone. There is no timeline for the end and no standard medical cure to prevent it. The heart simply won't make it. Most patients argue or break down, but the alternative is to ask a strictly logistical question: where do I go from here? If you had the choice to come back as anyone, you would choose to come back as yourself. That is when the standard medical warnings stop and the room gets quiet. The conversation shifts from cardiology to a careful hypothetical discussion about reincarnation. At the absolute limit of modern medicine, the ultra-wealthy ignore the prognosis. They secure a buyout in an entirely different kind of market. The logistical handover is remarkably simple. A doctor writes a phone number on a piece of paper, folds it, and slides it quietly across the desk. That referral network originated during medical research trips to Saudi Arabia. It circulates among powerful sheikhs who view terminal biological limits as temporary logistical hurdles to clear with enough capital. Dialing that number grants access to a private network, eventually pointing you to a hidden biomedical research complex on the outskirts of Reykjavik, Iceland. Inside those walls, nobody uses the word cloning. The clinical terminology they rely on is continuity. The bridge from speculative fiction to clinical reality is built on specialized connections and capital. The facility is highly monitored, quiet, and operates with total secrecy. The financial buy-in for continuity is nearly $4 million upfront. There are absolutely no guarantees, and there are zero refunds. This diagram shows the first biological deliverable purchased with that fee. The facility takes a full genetic profile and removes damaged sections caused by years of cellular degradation to create a pristine, viable genetic line. From there, physical development happens without a human surrogate. The process relies on a piece of hardware called an exogenesis vessel, a fully artificial womb. Inside this transparent, fluid-filled chamber, every single variable is controlled. Hormones, nutrients, early sensory exposure, and neural stimulation are regulated, with a strict precision that a natural pregnancy could never achieve. They have successfully removed the biological unpredictability of childbirth, turning human gestation into a highly secure, controlled manufacturing process. But securing a physical match is only half the transaction. The facility's most demanding requirement is achieving the Identity Fidelity Index, a complete mapping of the client's specific behavioral essence. DNA provides the physical frame, but continuity requires a map of the client's specific cognitive architecture to fill these empty sectors. To acquire that data, the facility's Continuity Council makes an extreme demand. They require the surrender of 50 years of personal journals, daily calendar entries, and private thoughts. They use those decades of recorded habits for cognitive imprinting, feeding a lifetime of daily rhythms into the subject's developing neural scaffolding. For $4 million, a lifetime of human memories, habits, and specific quirks are reverse-engineered and installed directly into a blank slate. To disguise the travel required for the final extraction trip, the public cover story is a scenic multi-week cruise from Portugal to Spain. The actual destination is back inside the Reykjavik facility, standing in a private observation room looking through a sheet of one-way glass. On the other side sits a 3-year-old boy at a table. He is completely unaware of his synthetic origins. The imprinting process translates 50 years of recorded daily rhythms and handwriting cadences into the boy's own neural pathways. As he draws on a napkin, his hand moves from the inside core and builds outward, the exact specific motor pattern his donor practiced for half a century. Watching those tiny hands repeat a 50-year-old habit through that glass brings a very specific kind of victory. It is the tangible realization of a successful negotiation with death. There is still a mandatory 2-year waiting period before the child is legally ready to leave the facility. The facility handles the final legal extraction. They forge birth certificates and passports, preparing the paperwork to import him across borders as an adopted refugee named Antonio Gemello. This documentation exists to record a commercial transaction. Public belief is irrelevant to a process that has already concluded. The narrator isn't seeking public permission or belief. He is simply documenting a commercial transaction that has already concluded. While society continues to debate the ethics of human cloning, The ultra-wealthy have bypassed the conversation entirely. They are already managing the logistics of raising their replacements.